Roman, I beg you for your forgiveness. I want to apologize to you because this is the old opening title and your name is not on it. So shame on me. I should get the new opening title with your name on it. So my apology, and please forgive me. I don't want to be that. What is missing right now is Kathy. Who is missing? Kathy. And Kathy went through, and I would like to share some illustration if you don't mind. Give me a second because word a thousand, a picture worth a thousand word, and I'm going to share that with you. I believe this is the right one. Oh, yes. So that was Kathy few, like 10 days ago. She has an episode of a double whammy. She has a COPD and she has like a hard situation there, hard challenge, where it's went as far as saying this is a red code. And she has been hospitalized and she's covered by insurance, but it's America. That's mean you have a bill waiting for you by thousands of dollars
Yep.
and a lot of challenges. She need to adapt her house where she's living to have HEPA filter and have a limited exposure to irritant. So for those who don't really know Kathy more than that, I would say she started about 12 years ago promoting the dog connection between dogs and human. She called the show the Dog Connection TV. And in the course of the 12, 13, 14 years, I believe she was posting, broadcasting, sharing the news with the audience. My estimate, she saved many, many thousands of dogs from euthanasia, from the dumpster, from the shelter where dogs are, after a time, they are useless, unknown, no taker. Therefore, the dog is good for euthanasia. And I call that going straight to the dumpster. And because of her action, because of her passion, because of her interest, thousands and thousands of dogs has been saved. At some point, our broadcast, our post, our Facebook page reached 14 million people. That was substantial. And I remember one day she called me, hey, Gitan, we got 5 million of subscriber and people watching, interacting with the Facebook page. And she did a remarkable job. And she's having a health episode. That's why she's not with us today. She has a GoFundMe page she set up, and I will share the link with everybody at the audience today. And here's the link for our audience. You just go to you can go on the comment here, and you will see the link for the GoFundMe page for Kathy. So she need our support, she need our help, and I'm going to do some more promotion for her. One last image I would like to share with you, and it's an image that kind of shocked me, if I use the expression, when I saw that. And this has been, she told me that this is a decision from the authority at the hospital. They put a bracelet on her, and the first one said, the yellow one said, fall risk, understandable. But the next one said, DNR, do not resuscitate. And the authority put that with her, asking her advice, what she think, and so on and so forth. So I want to share that with you. And it was a serious condition. She's recovering. She's back home. But this time she needs all our support. So thank you for your for supporting Kathy, and thank you for helping her overcoming that momentary difficulty. On this, I would like to come back to our topic today: dogs' fears. Roman.
Yeah, well, it's 4th of July,
Yes.
and shelters will confirm and rescues will confirm how many times dogs being highly surrendered during that period of time. So my fear personally around 4th of July is people surrendering the dog, people losing their dogs because of these unexpected events that are happening. So for the dog, every day is fine, totally fine, life is good until suddenly that ear breaking noise, sound kicks in and scares the dog to the point of him literally losing poop, right? So we need to be very aware that this is a very serious situation that's coming up. And I know many states, and especially in the Northwest, have already fire restrictions and fireworks restrictions. However, I want to point out there are some things we need to consider, and it's not really about dogs here. It is more about being conscious about the environment and how fireworks affect the environment. Not only the veterans who we praise that particular day, understanding that these people have PTSD from war and the situations they survived, but also dogs going through similar trauma, PTSD response during those fireworks. Now, I have similar experience. So if I walk down the street and as some there's a firework goes on, I'm not slamming my body to the floor, but I have serious trauma about it. So I get kind of, man. I mean, I get just goosebumps just thinking of it. Now, a dog who has this experience, he doesn't understand what's happening. His nervous system is triggered, his sympathetic nervous system is triggered, and it fights for survival. In that survival fight, the dog will do anything to get away from it, usually in a direction that is away from the sound. So if your house is in the direction where the sound is coming from, the dog will run away from your house. If your dog is not on a leash, he will not come back. And it's not usually one sound that's happening. Sometimes happens multiple sounds. As the dog runs away from you, tries to escape from that fear, right? The sounds are following the dog all the way to endlessness.
Is there any frequency or type of sound which is more susceptible, where the dog are more susceptible than other sound?
Well, there is no specific sound. Me clapping my hand can trigger a dog. A doorbell can trigger a dog. Anything that is out of the ordinary. We have to understand that dogs have this ability to perceive the environment as it is, and everything that is out of that is a trigger. That's why we have our dogs being guardian breeds and hunting breeds all over the multiple generations. Like
Mhm.
4.2 million generations of dogs learn that if something is out of the ordinary, I either have to kill it, or I have to chase it, or I
Mhm.
have to run away from it. you know, so there's nothing new to that.
Okay.
We just have to be aware of it.
Mm.
Anything that is not natural or not normal. So if you're
Mhm.
sitting on the couch and nothing's happened and the glass falls down, the dog gets startled. He gets scared. And if that happens all the time, then a dog becomes scared of what he considers safe in his place. In other
Mhm.
words, if the dog feels safe in the yard and suddenly this firecracker of the neighbor goes off, the dog doesn't feel safe in the yard anymore.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Sebastian is our buddy from Australia is here, and it's hey, we miss you, Mom. Thank you, Sebastian. Thanks. So, 4th of July crowd, is that something the dog, um, how the dog can end? Okay, 4th of July celebration, gathering, a lot of people. Is that a problem with the dog, or is the dog has some issue with that?
Well,
Off the
let's
box, no,
let's
no specific.
let's
Let's be
talk about
generic for now. Yes.
talk about we are going through a period where I call this the COVID dogs, are going through a period of non-socialization. So even dogs who were being socialized through this period of non-socializing, that becomes the new norm. The new norm is like you and me are sitting in the house meeting no people. That's it. And now suddenly we meet people. That's a problem. So the dog needs to reintroduce and re-socialize to the people. We cannot just assume because the dog was fine in the past that now he's fine now. So from that perspective, getting to a crowded place, and we have to expect sounds and noises and yelling and screaming and noises, that would be overwhelming for the dog. The likelihood for the dog to shut down and feeling helpless is very high, and especially for dogs who are very sensitive. And we need to understand that dogs are very, very sensitive in their hearing, right? That explosion that we hear as a boom is kind of like an atomic explosion next to your ear. And
Absolutely.
These whistling noises, dogs get triggered by that because usually the sympathetic nervous system is triggered by high-pitched noises because they usually mean death.
I see. I have a question, but I lost it. Okay, you started answering about the high pitch. So the range of frequency a dog can hear is much broader than the human, what a human can reach.
It moves in the other direction.
Right.
While the elephants can hear very low noises that we even not hear, the dogs hear more likely high noises.
Right.
Into the ultrasound level. So the dog doesn't hear the car; he hears the engine of the car. He hears the generator of the car.
Right. The high pitch, the high frequency.
Right.
Coming. So a rocket thrown in the sky with a pitch, that will be perceived by the dog much more acutely than we can imagine.
Okay.
So here's what I was thinking about. 15 months, 16 months, 14 months of isolation. We came out of the house, and then it's a whole new world outside for the dog, for the human. And what is the transition time? What is the kind of transition for coming out of the cage, out of the house, out of confinement, and getting into, let's say, I was on vacation, my longest vacation ever with Genevieve. We went on vacation for 5 days after 44 years. And I saw tons of people coming out on vacation, more than I ever seen before. So you come out of your house, you decide to go in a crowded place with your dog. Is there anything to be aware of before we get in the crowd and get involved there?
Well, the same applies to what we talked before. If your dog is not socialized, he has to be reminded to be socialized. If a dog is not comfortable with people, he will be scared of being overwhelmed with people. This process of being exposed to things that are scary is called flooding, exposure to a threat. Your body feels threatening. So it usually goes wrong because you either do it right and really have the dog have a positive experience by the end of this exposure, or it goes 90% wrong because the dog doesn't end up having a happy end coming of that situation. So we are exposing the dog is being triggered, the dog is being fearful, the dog starts panting, the dog shows signs of stress. And what we do by the end, we pick him up, we yank him, we hold the leash tight, we add all these additional problems into the situation. The dog gets overwhelmed and shuts down. Then he has the first thing he's going to do, every additional trigger, he's going to go after it, or he's going to shut down. So either or is the situation. So I would recommend don't take your dog into social places, especially 4th of July. You have to keep your dog on a leash. No matter how good your dog and obedient is, there is no way you can guarantee that your dog stays next to you when something goes off next to him. That's a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to make sure the dog has tags and is microchipped. And if he's microchipped, you want to make sure the microchip is up to date and doesn't have your fax number. Hello, No fax numbers on your phone number, your cell phone number, where somebody can reach you, not leaving a message, because the dog is
Mhm.
on the road, running, roaming around. By the time you go home and read your message on your phone, the dog is already gone in the other direction. So,
Right.
microchip. Call your microchip company, or your veterinarian has the phone number of the microchip company, and update your data, your address, because you moved, and your phone number, right? And your name, of course. Even if that dog is being adopted by a rescue, your name has to be up to it, because otherwise they will call the rescue if the dog is
Mhm.
being lost. Now, the other thing you want to make sure that if you take your dog out before you go on your party, on your party, weird, you have to take out for your dog and take him out and exercise your dog, get his stress level down before the night comes up, before sunset. I know people start bumping around like 12 o'clock at noon, which means you have to start early walking, so you're not exposing the dog in those, testings that it usually happens around the neighborhood.
We have a series of messages coming from our audience, and I will show this one first from Mohammed, and he asking, like many other people, "Are you doing, Ketty? Are you feeling?" And here's the Ketty contributing to the show remotely, and she is really adjusting to her life limitation at this point, and
So in the
the
background, what?
campaign, right? The campaign of GoFundMe that I posted, the link, is to help her to adapt to their new life limitation, and having some equipment that will facilitate for breeding, for instance, which is a vital requirement. If you stop breeding, that's a problem. And because she's suffering from COPD stage 3 at this moment, and she needs some equipment in her house where she's living, and she needs also air filtration and other equipment like that, plus the medical bill, the copay they call that, quote unquote. It's equivalent of thousands of dollars, and she deserves to have all the support we can provide to her. So, Kathy, don't give up. We're with you, and we'll never let you down. What she's answering. Oh, thank you, Kathy. That was my next topic, but you bring the topic now. She's asking, do thunder jacket blanket works?
Well, yes, but it's not the only solution. So if a dog is triggered by the event, it may calm the dog down, but it's not always helpful. It depends on the dog. It depends on how the dog perceives the trauma that already been
Mhm.
created. So it will calm the dog down, but it's not the only tool. There are other tools that we have to take in considerations. We have to secure the windows and the noises coming into the house. And yes, you can close the curtains, no big deal. We can have side noises, like white noises in the background. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about desensitizing your dog right now, because you don't have enough time to do that, because it's already the 1st of July. You have 3 days left to do that. Okay. But I have a blog post, if you want to share it at some point, where we're discussing things, and I will have some options that are available. So when you want to make sure is your dog has a very comfortable place to stay and his jacket on, right? And if that means he has to go to the bathroom because the bathroom is the furthest away from any window in the center of the house, that's the way to go. If your dog likes to go in the closet because hiding himself, is because it's the best insulated space for your dog.
Mhm.
I know he's supposed not to be there, but you know what? If the dog feels comfortable there, make him comfortable there. Okay? Put his crate in there if he stays in the crate. But if a dog is regularly there, put his bed in there, let him be cozy. Yes, you have to vacuum after that, no big deal. Do not give your dog tranquilizers. You have to talk to the veterinarian about that, because some tranquilizers causes anxiety, and anxiety causes more anxiety, and the dog has already anxiety, and some dogs in that anxiety becoming violent and aggressive. So you want to make sure that you're having the right prescription for your veterinarian. However, there are a lot of remedies out there, so I highly recommend, if you want to go that route, I would go after holistic veterinarian who can help you with remedies that don't have any side effects when you help your dog. Then we have other things that are in conjunction with jackets. They have to be the proper fit, and your dog should have learned to wear that jacket. You just don't put it a jacket on because you just remember it, and you have to start early enough before the event is going to happen. So my dog, for example, she gets very excited or has anxiety when the rain falls on the RV that we were leaving for 2 years. So that dropping coming on top of the
making
RV
the noise, yeah.
stress, right? So we wear the jacket on and we put it under the blankets, and she was fine with it. Yes, she's sleeping in our bed. What's wrong with it? Okay? We want to make the dog feel comfortable and not being the tough person. Oh, you have to deal with it. It's not what we do.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. The other subject we touched in the previous week is, and we're planning to have a more complete show on that, is the topic of training.
Yeah.
And what is the best way to approach training? You are a new owner. It's the first time you have a dog, and you start thinking about training.
Well, we have to understand that dogs really need to be socialized and learn to troubleshoot. Many people think that training is obedience. That's training. That's not training. What is obedience? The dog being obedient is nothing else than I'm telling you what to do, and you have to do it no matter what. We have to see that from a holistic perspective. Why would you do what I want if you don't feel comfortable about it? My sense of the dog being compliant to certain regulations in the house is teaching the dog a family code of conduct, understand the dog what we do and what we not do. If we look at dog training in nature, dog training doesn't exist in nature. What nature taught the dog is that every action has a consequence. Usually a positive consequence. If you do the right thing, you're going to have the right result. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to be dead, right? So naturally, the natural evolution of dogs doing the right thing over the millions of generations, and now they're down to a science. You do the right thing always because that's what keeps you alive. But what keeps you alive, you don't learn it by exposure to a problem. You learn it through a game. The parents create games for the puppies. The puppies do things, the parents respond to that. The puppies play with their siblings, the siblings respond to that. It's like young children. I'm not exposing my child to a war game to teach him how to be peaceful, right?
Yeah.
So the game doesn't teach us abstract, it teaches concrete ideas. For example, if I bite you too much, you're going to stop playing the game. And then I will be alone. And I don't like to be alone because I want to play. Therefore, don't bite me because I will not play. So the consequence is not always punishment. Now, the dog training usually world that I kind of little bit disagree with, it's all about obedience. If a dog doesn't obey, he has to be reprimanded and punished. No. A dog naturally sits. It's a state of mind. The dog naturally lays down. That's a state of mind. The dog naturally comes to you. That's a state of mind. So all we have to do is pair the idea of that state of mind to be reproduced. So if I walk away and my dog follows me, I call that, let's go. Let's go in the same direction, doing the same thing I do. Right?
Okay.
Dogs don't tell the dogs what to do. Dogs just do things and everybody joins with them because it seems that it works. Right? But if I force the dog to do something, all I'm teaching the dog is force. If I don't force you, don't do it. So obedience kind of will backfire at some point. We want the dogs to be confident and be self-sufficient, independent, making independent decisions. We don't want the dog to be micromanaged. If I don't do things and I don't say things, things don't going to happen. So our goal as a very early training would be teaching the dog that all these things that you do, I have name for it. You follow me, you come to me, I call it come. You follow me, I call it let's go. You walk away from me, I say, go fetch it, right? You go to your bed, I say, lay down, because the dog wants to do it. And now
Yeah.
that we paired what the dog wants to do with what I call it, now I can recreate that emotion by just putting the name in it. Okay, a simple example. I say the word shark. What comes to your mind? Fear, jaws, killing, pain, blood, water, you know? What if I say shark vacuum cleaner? Your mind is like, oh yeah, funny, cleaning. And then if I say again the word shark, your mind tries to avoid the fear. He wants to go into success. Of course, your mind will go into the vacuum cleaner if I say shark, because it feels better there than the fish and the water and the blood. So
Yep.
when we teach the dog positive outcomes and positive results, your dog is more likely to think into that direction. So that is what parenting, that I call, is more efficient than just obedience. Obedience is a little thing that sometimes you have to get the result because you need it. But if the dog likes to do what you ask him to do because he wants to do it anyway, it's 25% more effective than punishing the dog to do something or forcing the dog to do something that he's not in alignment with.
I'm speechless.
Why? Say something.
I never heard anybody giving this approach in the relationship between human and dogs. I saw a lot of variation on obedience. I never heard anybody, like you just said, if the dog lay down, you call lay down, and the dog can associate the word lay down with his choice to lay down at that point. And when you say lay down, you will kind of remember lay down. Oh, that's the happy position where I lay down.
Right.
It's not a force imposition. How you say that? A forceful imposition of a will on the dog. It's more developing a common language between you and the dog.
Well, dogs speak emotions. If you look at the dog's body language,
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Husk the husky, right?
I ask.
when the dog is so emotionally expressive, I don't know any other species that's more expressive than a dog. All you can see, people see a wagging tail.
Yeah.
What I see is information. The way the tail is, the position of the tail when it's wagging, the position of the body in associated to the tail. The whole thing is an emotional expression of how the dog feels internally. So what we need to learn is to translate that emotional picture, that screenshot, which is multiple dimensions in one situation. It's not just the ear. It's also the ear and the head, with the nose, with the tail, with the legs, with the coat, with the hair, with the position, with the location, and the situation. All these things happening at the same time.
Yep.
We are reading word for word, while the dogs give us a screenshot of his emotional state every second. Now, dogs can give more than one information per second. My calculations, observing videos that I have done in slow motions, I have measured about 14 actions per second. I need 3 seconds to step on my brakes when somebody in front of me steps on his brakes. In that meantime, the dog has given me so many informations that I just didn't pay attention to. Then we have a dog's front side and the back side. There are two different levels of information. The one that's dedicated to the front, to the one the dog interacting with, and the back is for situations where is interaction with the ones who's behind the dog and the side of the dog. So we have so many dimensions around that communication skills, and the only thing we do is we're focusing on one thing. Obey to me.
Do what I want.
Yeah, it's so wrong. We're missing so much stuff and so much information. We're missing so much of our relationship with our dogs. I don't know any dog that could ever follow us for us asking for obedience of a stray dog. Why would the dog do that? No dog will come to you if you ask him, come over here. Why would he come? There's no relationship to that. There is no
Yeah.
obligation for you to come over. So it's the dog's need to come to you that makes the dog to come.
Hmm.
And you have to become interesting and attractive. What makes you attractive? Being the prey? Yeah. Being the predator? No. Prey doesn't mean that the dog has to kill you, but prey is the interaction that you have something your dog wants.
Hmm.
If you offer safety, the dog wants that. If you offer solutions, the dog wants that. If you offer troubleshooting skills, your dog wants that. He wants more of you because you have all these things that makes him thrive, not only survive.
Hmm.
And dogs' evolution is to thrive. Everybody can survive. You have to just do the right thing.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mohammed. This is for me. It's today at this hour. What I heard from you, I never heard that from anybody at any level in any approach of whatsoever in regard the relationship between human and dog. I never heard anything like that in my entire life, and I'm pretty new to this lifetime. So this is for me. It's what we need to go more about that. We need to get a better attitude towards dog human relationship, and this is the purpose of the dog connection, to improve the relationship between human and dog. Yes,
Dog
Roman.
connection. We were connected. We were close to nature. We lived in nature with dogs in harmony for so many thousands of years.
Hmm.
Okay. The problem is that we are led into the situation everything is just recyclable. You don't like the dog? Get another one. There are so many out there. Be a saver. Save another dog while you surrender the other one. And we're coming from a perspective that we have the expectation that nature has to adjust to us because we are the ones who the nature was created for. I don't think that's a reality. Okay? The universe is not being created for me or you or anybody else. We are part of the universe, and so the dogs. The dogs have the right to be in that universe as much as we have.
Hmm.
Just we have a benefit that we believe in, that we are smarter than them. That's not the case, because if you take away my car and my cell phone and you put me in a desert, I will not make it longer than a day or two, right?
Right, you will
So
not
what makes
survive.
it smart? Being smart
Yeah.
that I know that I have a phone but cannot use it because I'm not there, because I don't have a cell connection. A
Yeah.
dog will dig a hole and find something to keep himself safe. I don't know that.
Hmm.
Okay, just because I have intelligence doesn't mean I'm smart. Just because I have the feeling that I can think abstract doesn't make me safe in this world. So all we have to recognize is start learning from the dogs instead of teaching the dogs what to do, because they are there representing us something that we lost over the period of time, become one with nature.
Yeah.
There is no other species out there so close to nature than a dog, even if he's not in nature.
What I recognize in what you're saying is the approach of the Native American. That's the part I know. It's probably true for any native tribe or civilization. When I'll refer to the Native American, their attitude was the world is here, and we have to preserve and use but never abuse, and that's why they were not anyway. So the whole thing you're describing there is a fundamentally new approach that was lost in time. The Native American live in the North American continent for 40,000 years or more. They adapt. They not try to change their environment. They adapt to the environment. And what you're basically saying is, don't try to change the dog. Try to understand and work with the dog instead of, hey, you do this and you do that.
Yeah, we have this idea that we have to shape everything to our please. Now, everybody has a different please, so there is no one shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We just have to understand You have a dog, you need to understand his primary needs. You need to
Hmm.
understand his needs in general. You need to understand what your needs are. You need to understand that your needs can always be compatible with your dog needs.
Yeah,
Just because you want to go on vacation doesn't mean the dog has to suffer with it.
right.
And so we have to make that final decision and also educate our children that, hey, just because you want a dog doesn't mean you can have one. Okay?
Hmm.
And the child is not the one to learn on a dog how to become a parent. The best parenting training for a child is to watch the parent his own child.
Owning a dog. This is something which is, do we own a dog or do we
No,
care for a dog? Thank you.
no. Legally, you own a dog because legally you're obligated for ownership.
Right.
You're forced to own things. You're forced to own a car. You're forced to have things because I have to be forced to own their insurance because I pay for it. But in reality, what it is you have to be one with your environment. You don't own
Hmm.
it. You are with it. And you want to go further than that and says, well, God, right? You're an aspect of God if you go in that direction. So therefore, dog is part of you. How
Hmm.
about that? So you want to force the dog to be something you want to be, but you're not willing to change to match the dog, then you're not matching your creation. You
Right.
want creation to adjust to you. That's really
And
wrong in the space.
and dog and human are conscious entity. We have different level of consciousness. I agree with that, but we are fundamentally two walking, living, conscious entity, and that's what we have in common. Roman, you're cheerleader, Katie. Thank you so much for what you provide to us, the insight and your view of the approach of the relationship between human and dog is absolutely priceless and unique.
Well, here's a good example. Let's take Kathy, for example. Kathy is offering selfless and without any expectations for us to have that platform to share these things.
Hmm.
Did she ask you for money to be on the show? Did she ask me for money on the show? No. But my obligation is to support her in exchange because we're kind of like a system, like a gear. If one
Hmm.
tooth breaks, the whole gear stops turning.
Right.
So Kathy does her thing, I do my thing, you do your thing. Everybody does his own thing. I don't
Hmm.
expect you to adjust to my thing, and I don't expect Kathy to adjust to my thing, or me expecting to adjust my thing to your thing. All we have to do is we have to contribute with our skills and our individuality and our uniqueness to the whole system. And the
Yes.
dog does it, and you does it, and everybody does it. But if
It
one needs help for whatever reason, and you have that ability to spend $1 that really doesn't hurt you, check your car. There's somewhere $1 on the floor somewhere. Instead of throwing the bottles in the recycling bin, bring them back to the store and get a credit card, a gift card, and help somebody who needs help. If you go in nature and you see an elephant is struggling in the ditch, you know what's going to happen? There were other elephants coming over there trying to get this elephant out of his ditch. If you see a
yeah.
dog being attacked by coyotes, other dogs come to help him without any benefit. They were risking their lives for it. And again,
Hmm.
this is what I'm saying, where we are walking so far away from nature that we actually dissociate from other one's empathy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she has so many friends, she'll figure it out. No, you're considering yourself a friend, you have to make that move. Be part of that gearbox. Don't be an outsider standing and staring at it. Try to figure out how it works without being part of it. You
Yeah.
can be a gear, be a lubricant, become an oil into the gearbox. You cannot be a lubricant, you cannot be a gear, become the shell of it. You can do
Yeah.
something. So I'm taking my technical experience as an example. Sorry.
Yes. That's okay. That's Roman. Today we have a glimpse of a different vision of the relationship between human and dogs, and by extension between nature and human. And I think this is just the beginning of a new journey that we're going to take in with our audience. So, audience, if you feel anything good about the show, you can tell your friend. You can share with your family. You can
Appreciate.
repost the posting from Facebook and from the YouTube channel. Also, I posted the link for GoFundMe on our chat here, so you can click on that and give a little support to Kathy, and I will let you. I will on these words. I will say thank you, Roman. Thank you, Kathy, for contributing to the show. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for all the work you are doing for the past 15 years. And I'm not saying you did for the past 15 years because you're not done. You'll be back with us. And
We're going to get you out of the ditch.
yes. And we need the support of everybody. Everyone available can help Kathy to come out of this little situation right now. And she will prevail. She will be back with us. And she will continue our generous work for the next years to come. So on these words, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Kathy, who's watching. And we'll see you next week. Hold on a second. I'm supposed to close the show. I have all the knobs to press, and I'm pressing this one. I say farewell. See you, everybody. Cheer. Thank you, everybody who contributed to the show today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.